सिया राम, जय जय राम सिया राम, राम सिया राम, जय जय राम सिया राम।
सबको रिझाता चल, सबसे निभाता चल, सबको रिझाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम। राम नाम का अलख जगाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम। राम धुन गाता चल, राम धुन गाता चल, राम धुन।
सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। If you have been following the line of thought in this so far, then you know that the first chapter spoke about how happiness is very elusive, and how we seem to lose our joys. So the second chapter went into what is the cause of this, and we identified the cause as desires. Then the next chapter, and then thereafter, we start talking about what is the solution. Having identified a cause, now we have to, there is the contents on. Okay, then we started what is desirelessness. Okay, what's the point of this whole thing? Because desirelessness we talk about quite glibly, we don't seem to understand. One person some weeks ago in a sort of social gathering said, if it is true, then that your desirelessness is actually happiness, then how come everybody who I see is desireless is not happy at all? I said, well, you see so many people desireless. Yes. Like who? Give me an example. So she gave me an example of a lady whose husband, according to the lady, is a fine husband otherwise, I mean, normal everyday husband. But she felt that and I suppose it is a little true also, that he didn't look after her desires at all. And, I mean, he did the normal stuff. He didn't burn an alcoholic. He didn't beat her up. He looked after the family. He brought money home. He did the normal stuff. But she, according to her, and she was very frustrated about it. My husband never looked after me. Other husbands, they do this and that. My husband never did anything like that for me. And just got hurt about it. So this lady, because we know that person, so this lady is telling me, see, she is desireless. She had no desire. See how unhappy she is. Well, how does that make her desireless? That is unfulfilled desires, not desireless. But then she, then of course she gave up and then she would wear very simple clothes and whatever. That's being frustrated. So we use that being desireless. So there's a very strange way that if somehow, you if you're living, then you're desireless. Something like that you think of as desireless. Well, that's not what desireless is. Desireless is the state of a Rama, Krishna, a Buddha, a Christ. Fantastic states. People who can be happy no matter what. You take anything from them, you give anything to them, they are where they are. You can't fool around with them, you can't bully them, you can't. What can you do with them? They are like masters. They do food to you and you'll go flying. I mean, not physically, but the thing is, you have no control over them in any way. That is the wonderful state of desireless. Now, question comes. Okay, so what is step one? That we become unhappy. Why do we become unhappy? Only because of desire. So therefore, solution has to be you have to become desireless. And then we understand what that means, of course. But now, how to become desireless? What are we supposed to do? By doing, I want to be desireless, we're not going to become desireless. In fact, you get more desires if you think like that. So that's not the way. What do you do? So there's two things. As a Vedantin, there are two things we will have to do in this world if we want to live a proper life, spiritually as well as materially. I mean, this is the same thing that will give spiritual growth, and the same thing gives material growth. What are those two things? The two things are unselfishness and application of intellect. These are the two things you need in life. Everything else you try to get is nice to have, but not critical to your existence. These two things you have to have. You have to be unselfish. You have to be able to see things from other people's perspective, work for causes, work for ideas, depending on what level you can take this to. And second thing is every action comes from the intellect. If you know these two things in this world, you go anywhere in the world, you will be a shining beacon for everyone. So we've been studying that. We've studied how things happen in the world, right? Things will happen. What is your buffer? Your buffer is how much unselfishness you have. If you want to live a life where the happenings of this world are not tossing you, the world, remember, will have all this, but if you don't want it to toss you, then your shock absorber is how much unselfishness you have. And that gives you that range of happiness. So let us say the situation is very, very bad, but you have unselfishness. Even then, your happiness content hasn't gone down too much. It will go down, but it hasn't gone so much that you can't bear it anymore. Right? So this is what we have studied. Then we started talking about not just your buffer in life, it is also that which unfolds a higher level of joy. Right? One thing is you are happy at some stage, and things happen in life and that level goes down. The other thing is which nobody knows about. That's a big secret. That you cannot unfold that joy, and you cannot unfold a higher level of joy unless you become more unselfish. You just can't. He says, "Oh, I bought myself a Learjet. Now I'm going to be so happy." No, you'll be in the same range. Now I married the world's best person. I'm going to be so happy. No, your range is restricted. There's no way. There is no way you're going to enjoy the kind of bliss that a realized master or even somebody approaching realization can ever experience. And therein lies the tragedy. What is the tragedy?
That we don't even know that such a state exists.
Yeah. Imagine that is the tragedy, and that is where knowledge comes in. Imagine a person spends his whole life thinking he's happy and not realizing that he's not. So in the scriptures, they say nobody on earth is happy. Then people say, how can you say nobody is happy? I am happy. You know what you're talking about. For instance, the child can never understand, let us say, the pleasure of being a parent. They don't know what that means. What is that thing? And they don't understand it. I'm using that example because it reminds me of one of the students, many, many years ago. He got a child. He was very, very, he got married late, and then his wife was pregnant, and then they were getting a child. And they told me, you have to be present there when the birth takes place. What am I going to do by being present there? Am I a doctor? Can I help? But he said, no, you have to be present. Okay, chalo, I am present. I will come and sit. Anyway, I'm unemployed. No calm danda. I can, instead of sitting at home, I can sit over there. I went and I sat. And then the child was born. And he came out of the room. And he wanted that the child first be placed in the arms. You have to hold him. A small, delicate child. And he was so enamored by this whole thing that he told me after a few days that I don't know, I never felt like this. And then he's giving me advice. Ankichi, you must have a child. You don't know what you're missing. And the heart with which he said it, my heart went out to this guy. I mean, like, he genuinely felt, how can you not have a child? You must have a child because otherwise you will never know this. And that's exactly how the sages feel. Why don't you grow up? Otherwise you will never know this. And how he was longing for I should know this pleasure. And then that is exactly how the developed people feel. You have access to this. You can have it anytime you want, but you're not getting it. In fact, you're complaining how unhappy you are. So whenever I talk of this, that image always comes in my mind because that he was so sort of taken up with it, and obviously the satisfaction he must have felt on becoming a parent, especially when you become parent older in life. So it means a lot more. Interesting it is. So remember where we were?
That the tragedy is that we will never know the higher choice.
Just like,
How a child doesn't know the joy of it.
very good. Excellent. The child doesn't know the joys of parenthood. You know what it is? So too are we children in the spiritual world. They don't know what that joy is. You know what it is? So if you don't know what it is, why would you want it? This is the problem. So you tell people, come, you say, okay, come, do the Vedanta course. They'll say, we are fine. मैं क्या बोलूं? Come study, put your life behind it. Don't do, understand this is the most important thing. Everything else is just nice to have. You tell somebody, then they'll say, yeah, very nice, very nice. We should spread the word. You don't get it. You simply don't get it. So the more we can develop that unselfishness in our personality, and it's hard work. It's painful. This is the other problem. Not only I don't know what that joy is, the moment I start doing I'm in pain. Then I say, Arey, this is very good. Bola to joy milne wala hai. And what are we getting? I'm just irritated. Imagine, suppose we tell all the students and then they come to do the course. Then first week and all, everyone is very excited. Our new place and all, so beautiful. Everything is that. After the first week, no entertainment. And there's no mall here. No, there's no mall here. Can we go outside the campus? Yes, sure, you can go, but you just can't come back in. So, no, but it's a college, no, so we should be allowed to go out. We should have a canteen. No, you won't have a canteen. You will get the food that everybody else gets. And the mind will start rebelling. And suddenly you will find whatever anyone around is selling, even if it is the most lowly vada pav, it will suddenly become the most interesting thing to eat. But if you can restrict yourself, I'm gonna stay within the Lakshman Resha for this year. You can do it. You're not going to enjoy this process. You're going, yeah. Everybody has gone to some nice college. They are having some nice time. मैं यहाँ रखड़ा नहीं हूँ. So many things will go on through your mind. So two problems. What are the two problems? No, not you, Deepraj. Anybody else?
First,
We don't know the higher joy.
Very good. And Taruna,
Second.
second one?
And once we start, it is painful in the beginning.
So now, given these two things, which idiot is going to take it? And that's why we stay where we are. Everybody, the whole humanity stays where it is. And what is the way out? Only two ways out, really. One is knowledge. You can't see it, you can't experience it, but knowledge is telling you. Logic is telling you that. Reason is telling you. That's one. And the second way, for those who logic and reason doesn't appeal, then being in the presence of somebody like that. That's the second way. But if you see somebody who seems to be very happy and unaffected and all of that, then some curiosity sometimes arises in a person's mind as to how is that person like this. So now where are we? This was all digression. Okay, what was the point? Don't get carried away. It is my job to take you all over the world. It is your job to stay on track. Now, speaker can say whatever they want. Jo man mein aaye bolo. Where were we?
Selfishness unfolds joy.
Very good. The unselfishness unfolds joy. So you get a higher level of joy. So how did we get to that? We said desires and unselfishness are inversely proportional. The more your desires, the more selfish you're going to be. Or the less unselfish you're going to be, whichever way it looks seems easier to understand. Right? If you have so many desires, how can you be unselfish? Isn't it? Too many desires, then you're forced to be selfish. But when your desire level comes down, what happens? Say, suppose you have too many desires, okay? Then you want, let's say, a cupboard full of clothes. And you want 2, 3, 4 cupboard full of clothes, different footwear, whatever you want to look very good. Now, suppose you have a dress in which you look very good. Do you want to give it to somebody else so that that person looks as good as you? No, impossible. But if you say, oh, there's so many clothes there, and you don't really care, it's easy to be generous. But if you're holding on, very difficult to be generous. So, what happens when you become unselfish or unselfish desires cater to a broader spectrum? That means I'm not just thinking about myself, I'm thinking about how everything affects others as well. If I want to listen to loud music, it does occur to me, what about the others? It occurs to me. If I want to listen to loud music and I'm only a self-centered person, it doesn't occur to me what about others. And I just pay my music. So, when your attention focuses itself, when your desires come down, you become capable of focusing your attention on things beyond yourself. As you focus on things beyond yourself, the interest in the lower reduces further and further and further. Now, why should you do that? Because if you do not get interested in the higher, that higher level of joy does not unfold. Therefore, we don't know what is the state of a Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa. Unselfish people or selfless people don't understand. Right. Now let's continue. All good so far? No, shouldn't have asked. Yes, Deepraj.
So the mind gets attached. So the mind gets attached through a figure or through some sort of a motivation, right? If you're talking about bhakti yoga,
Hmm.
that's the process of building unselfishness. That's one process of building unselfishness. So the
No,
mind.
uh,
Mm.
I mean, you don't need to label it bhakti yoga, but the thing is, there are only two ways to, I think you're referring to that. There are only two ways by which you may believe or be interested in knowing something you don't know. One is you know about it through knowledge, and one is that you know of it through association with somebody. Like you see somebody you respect or admire, and therefore, or read or whatever, or and so therefore you think, oh, how is this person like that? He can be like, you can learn about the Wimbledon Championship through knowledge, or you go to the club and you see somebody playing tennis very, very well, then you also feel sometimes that, I also. So it could be knowledge or experience, basically. Experience in the sense your association with somebody who does this. So whether you
And
want to label
And
it
in
that.
both cases, the interest, because that person is still at a lower level compared to that which
Mhm.
he's aspiring for, he gets interest in it through proxy, right? Because his interest is still in the lower, but he wants the higher because he thinks he's gonna get more happy. Like what motivates him because he's at a lower level? What will he because he will still need to relate to the higher in terms of the lower.
Uh, it's not that he's looking for more happiness, because that is not going to work. What he's doing is he's getting an appreciation of something final. Like you were listening to music, let us say, or Hindi film music, and then you got exposed to, let us say, classical music, and then you, what is this? Some curiosity. That's one way. Second way is you went to a music school. They started you off with listening to this kind of music, and then they told you that this is the finer aspects and better aspects, and you learn through knowledge. It's not that you're looking that I'll get more happiness. It's like you're beginning to appreciate something you didn't know before. Nobody's
But the logic
consciously saying, I want
with the
more.
logic is more understandable because like there's an objective measure and all that. But with reference to the association one, he that person is looking at classical music through the lens of the music that he already knows, because the classical music is new to him.
No,
If he
not through
immediately
the lens. He's able to appreciate something better. He's not looking at it through that lens alone. He's able to appreciate that this is somehow better. I don't know what happened here, but something is better.
so he still has that little interest which is now catching fire in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Okay.
beginning to, he is now exposed to something of a finer nature and he's able to identify it's a finer thing.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, you were saying just now that more happiness thing will not work.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
we'll just come to it. Correct?
Yeah, so even for an unselfish person, his protection is limited to his level, right? I mean, if he gets a challenge bigger than his capacity to handle, he will also crumble, correct?
Correct.
So there's no despite even at any level that you are. The
Absolutely.
only way up is to keep aspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep growing because you know that if you stop,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, yes, so you're right. You just keep aspiring. Anytime you stop, you subject yourself to that potential of sorrow again.
Okay, thank you.
Sarthak?
yes, ma'am. You were saying that when Bhaiya said that we are naturally going towards the higher because we are looking for happiness, but you said that more looking for more happiness there won't work, which is actually logical because we don't get quick results. So then again, ma'am, we will just follow this path because we are inspired by the knowledge and, like you said, association with the sages or someone like that. Um, there's no other way to like get happiness quickly in this way.
Yeah, if you think, that I'll go to spiritual life, then I will become more happy. You're approaching it from a very selfish, self-centered point of view. So therefore, it's not going to work. The whole trick in this is to forget about yourself.
Ma'am, whenever you speak of unselfishness, I just go to sages. That okay, these sages come to mind when ma'am talks of unselfishness. When you say selfish, we are selfish people because we are identified with the body and mind. We are not identified with the self. Then naturally we are going to be selfish people, and we are going to look at everything through the lens of that selfish body and mind, like Deepraj Bhaiya was saying. So naturally we will say if there's happiness here, if there's better happiness here, we like to like take up this path. Otherwise, what use it's going to be?
Yes, but you have to eventually you have to be propelled by some unselfish idea. So you're saying we are selfish and you're taking that as a given. No, we are not. The range of selfish is very, very high. All the way from, what is his name? Dawood Ibrahim. Dawood Ibrahim? Is that right? So from there to, I don't know, Rama or Krishna, the whole range, we're somewhere there. We just take one step forward and we get pushed when we take that step when suddenly something for some reason is more important to us than ourselves.
Ma'am, I to see self-realization also as a selfish endeavor. That you want to realize the self, you want to be free of your own bondage to your own body and mind. That's it's personal freedom, no? It's you're trying to free yourself. You're not trying to free others. So it's a selfish endeavor. Why I don't know why this concept of unselfishness has to come.
No, if you look upon it as freedom for yourself and see, you focused it back on yourself. So you will become a Rakshasa, like that's
It
not
is
the
focused on
way.
myself, ma'am. I'm saying it is focused on myself.
No, it's not. It is it may sound contradictory. It's focused on yourself only in the sense, it's a very technical way of putting it. Focused on yourself means focusing on the internal levels of your personality, moving from material to physical to emotional to intellectual to spiritual. So, in that technical sense, you're focused on yourself, you're not looking at the world. But moving, let's say, from physical to emotional means what? From physical to emotional means that you are very concerned with the happiness that your body gave you. When you become emotional, that means you're more concerned with the joys of your family than your own. For instance, a mother loves a mithai very much, but she genuinely gets more satisfaction when the child has it. So she has become more emotional. So when she has gone within her personality, she has actually become less focused on herself. You get
Yeah,
it?
I would disagree here, ma'am. I would say that it's a mutual relationship, that the mother is getting equal happiness out of the child, and she has a share of happiness there. Is what I'd say. Not it's not unselfish in my view.
So compared to what? Compared to her, see, suppose her child is unwell, she'll spend the whole night looking after him. So compared to her wishing for her comfort in her bed, right?
I'm saying, ma'am, it is her comfort. When her child is comfortable, it's her comfort only.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So that means she is more emotional than physical.
Or better way to put it would be that her selfishness is of a higher grade. Maybe we can put it like that.
You can put it in any way as long as you understand that focusing on yourself spiritually is actually equal to not focusing on yourself. Focusing on
This,
yourself means focusing on.
ma'am, this you are saying, ma'am, A is not equal to B and B, ma'am, A is not equal to A. You are saying A is not equal to A. Something you are saying very weird stuff, that
Okay, please pay
focusing on myself
attention.
is not focusing on.
Yeah. So pay attention, you'll get what I'm trying to say. These words you cannot put mathematically like that. A is, you're right, I'm saying A is not equal to A, which is silly. But if you understand the usage of language, when Vedanta says focus on yourself, right, means do not focus on more external things, focus on more internal things. So what's this thing? The most external is the world. So rather than focusing on the world, focus on your body. Rather than focusing on your body, focus on your mind. Rather than focusing on your mind, focus on your intellect. Rather than focusing on your intellect, focus on the self. Right? So that's what it's referring to. But when you decode it, what does it mean? Instead of focusing on the world, focus on your body. Instead of focusing on the mind, on the body, on the mind. So, what is the mother doing? When she is focusing on the mind rather than her body, she has become unselfish compared to everybody who's focused on the body.
Hmm.
So, once you get that usage of language, it won't be so confusing. And as a, where did this usage come from? You remember the Panchakoshas, right? So right inside is supposed to be the self, then there's the vasana, then there's intellect, then there's mind, then there is prana, then there. So the language has come about like that.
So vasanas are even above intellect?
Of course. Vasanas are subtler, no, than intellect.
That's why they feel more powerful.
They don't ever feel anything. They are unmanifest. How can they feel anything?
When they manifest
See
as
them, they
desires.
don't feel anything. No, so unmanifest desire is not manifest. What are you feeling? Can't feel anything. It's the state of deep sleep.
But when they get manifested, our intellect is stronger there.
No, please, Sarthak, you've gone all over the world. You just swallow this for the moment. We are
I
only.
swallowed it, ma'am. It's perfectly clear. When you said in the beginning of the question that selfishness can range all from the Dao, that some terrorist, to all over Ram, I understood your point.
Why are you wasting my time if you already understand?
elaboration से फिर दिमाग में रहती है बात.
Okay. अच्छा चलो गुंजन.
Ma'am, I have a follow-up question to her. So while answering him, you said that if we'll not move upwards, we'll be subjected to the potential of sorrow. So I didn't get that point.
Remember, we studied potential of sorrow. Depending on your level, you have that much potential of sorrow. So let's say you have desires for the physical body, right? Desires for the physical body doesn't mean I want a physical body. It means I want to look good. I want to be slim. I want to be healthy. Everybody should appreciate how I look. You know, I should not be made uncomfortable. I don't want too much heat or too much cold. Whatever. Everything pertaining to the body. Right. So now suppose you're a physical person. What is your potential of sorrow? Any one of these goes away, you're going to be unhappy. But let us say you've become emotional. So your potential of sorrow has come down. Now, this mother, taking that same example, the mother is working, is staying up all night. Night after night, she is forced to take care of her sick child. Right? It's because he's got very high temperature or something has happened. Now her potential for sorrow is reduced because she's putting up with physical discomfort and she's okay with it. Okay means she's not enjoying physical discomfort, but she's okay with it. It hasn't knocked down her unhappiness that much, or knocked down her happiness that much. But if something happens to the child, then she'll be devastated. So now that is her level of potential of sorrow.
Ma'am, can you give example what will happen in case of more higher, in case of intellect? What
So
will
then,
give a potential
okay,
of sorrow?
so let us say a person is working for some cause, like they were working for independence for India or any cause, and something happens to a family member. So that buffer they'll get, no? They will know that. I mean, they're not going to be happy that their family member passed away, but they're not going to be devastated either.
So for them, what will be the what kind of thing can affect them?
What happens to the country? Let's say Mahatma
Okay,
Gandhi.
okay.
What makes him miserable? That the country is divided.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
Right. So let's continue.
The question on the chat.
Oh, is there? Thank you. Prakash's iPhone. Is it not right one should be selfish to some extent to become unselfish? Yeah, okay, you can say that. This is all poetry we can use anyway. You can change language to make anything mean anything. But the point here is, if you mean by this that I should very carefully preserve my nighttime sleeping time so that I can get up in the morning and study, then you're right. But if you say something like, oh, being with you is agitating me, I don't want to be with you, then you're wrong. So it all depends on how you're using it. So is it not right one should be selfish to some extent to become unselfish? Yes, it is right. That to some extent is where the devil is in the detail. What is that to some extent? When if you're protecting your sadhana, if you're protecting your nobility, if you're protecting your morning studies, yes, all that good. But you are saying that, oh, you are not behaving good with me, so I'm going to dump you in the waste bin. Not good. Okay? Yes, Deep.
The quality and quantity of the sorrow experienced by a higher person and lower person is different, right? When
Yes,
their desire doesn't get met.
yes.
Thank you.
Prashant Linga. Say I donate 5% or 10% of my income and keep 95% for my necessities, not luxury. I think I'm unselfish and selfish. I think I'm unselfish and selfish. Is it correct thinking? What percentage should I donate to stay unselfish? I'm in a noisy area and couldn't put on my video to ask questions. Okay. Your unselfishness is not dependent on what percentage you give. Your unselfishness is dependent upon what is your intention in giving. Suppose you say, I'll give 5% of my income and therefore God will take care of me. Then that's not charity at all. Suppose you say that, suppose a man comes to you for help, okay, and he asks for only 2% of your income. But you know that it's not in his welfare if you give him that money. And you say no. So you didn't give him the money, but you were unselfish. So unselfishness is in the intention, not in the quantum. Let us say a man is earning, what should I say? A man in the day, all he could find were 2 chapatis. That's all he could find to eat. He couldn't find anything else. Okay, that's all he had. And he saw a poor starving dog. And he gave that poor starving dog one of his 2 chapatis. This level of unselfishness, he's given only 50%, but his unselfishness is 100%. So it's not what you give or how much you give, but how much you're concerned about the other person to whom you are giving. Otherwise, people are willing, no? One person said, told us if he gave us 2 crores, which is a lot of money for us, and then we have to put him on that as a trustee. So we said, no, thank you. Not a deal as far as we are concerned. Because vision is going to be borne by the trustees. You can't have anyone interfering in that. And it's a big thing to say no, thank you. But well, no, thank you ain't happening. So you say yes, you say no, you help, you don't help. All of that doesn't determine your unselfishness. It is your intent. Okay, Prashant? Okay, come on, let's continue. When we don't fixate on our wants, but consider the needs of others, when we realize it's not all about me, the mind is distracted from its yearnings. Just forget about yourself. It's not about me. Suppose you also give charity. Getting a great sense, look, I'm so good, I'm giving this much of my income. That attention is still on myself. But what is unselfishness? What is going to benefit you that you have forgotten about yourself? When we don't fixate on our wants, like the most important thing is what I want. No, when you don't fixate on your wants, but consider the needs of others, when we realize it's not all about me, the mind is distracted from its yearnings. The selfish mind craves its indulgences. Nature of the mind, no? It will want what it wants. It wants what it wants. What can you do? It will crave its indulgence. It will want the fulfillment of whatever it wants. But when it shifts its focus to something else, happiness reveals itself. What an amazing thing, no? If anyone can understand this. We think that if I get whatever it is I want, I will become a very happy person. But the truth is that when you forget what you want, happiness reveals itself. Selfishness is like an acid that eats our system. It gnaws away. Our pains increase and its diagnosis gets more difficult. And selfishness is eating us from inside. The pain is increasing. And as the pain is increasing, the diagnosis of that problem becomes more and more difficult. Why?
Desires overwhelm the intellect.
Correct. Can you change one of those words?
Agitations overwhelm the intellect.
Very good. Excellent. When your mind is agitated, your intellect cannot think. So the more upset you get, the less you're able to find out what on earth happened here. It is the primary enemy, but it comes disguised as a friend. A desire is, you're thinking it's a friend. I'm going to take care of my desire. I'm going to take care of you. If I fulfill you, then I'm going to be so happy. It's the primary enemy, but comes disguised as a friend. That which is draining us, we believe is fulfilling us. What is making us miserable, we think is going to make us happy. The understanding is flawed. Hence, the cycle of pain spirals into a whirlpool of darkness. Ignorance overwhelms us. The rope that pulls us up is unselfishness. But the rope appears as a deadly snake. Who would grab it? Just think like that, na? You are in a whirlpool of darkness. You look up and there's a snake. Will you hold it to pull yourself up? Arey baap re, I'm as it is in a bad mess, ye to aur bhi it will make me a bigger mess. Who would grab it? In the mount, or on the mount, there's the famous Mount Sinai, Moses saw this deadly snake. The voice of God is said to have directed Moses to hold it. He hesitated. God commanded a second time. Moses couldn't. He hesitated. Just how? There's a snake over there. God is saying, hold the snake. Baba, please. I am not a snake charmer. I don't know how to hold the snake. No, I will not hold it. God commanded a second time. Moses couldn't. God commanded for the third time. Moses made a desperate attempt to catch it. But God is saying, hold it, Moses, hold it. Finally held it. When he held it, the snake miraculously turned into a staff. This was the famous staff of Moses. It opened the sea and allowed safe passage to his people when the Pharaoh chased them. You know the story, right? That the Pharaoh was chasing them and they came to the sea. So the people would have all died. They were all escaping from the rule of the Pharaoh. But then Moses touched his wand and the seas opened up and all of these people went through. The entire nation went through and of course got protected from the Pharaoh chasing them. It gave them food and drink in the desert. And so then they entered the desert because they had to go to the promised land. Then they were in the desert. Now, where will they get food in the desert? The whole nation of slaves was going. So how will they get food? So that staff gave them food. It gave them food and drink in the desert. It converted a hesitant, confused Moses into a strong leader of his people and made his name live on forever. You don't know who was that Pharaoh, but you know who's Moses. The deadly snake is the ego, the selfishness within. When we control it, we become capable of miracles. I hope you take cognizance of this line. If you're able to control your selfishness, you become capable of miracles. We find it so difficult to see what the story tells us. Why do we worship the person and not the principle the story espouses? What a strange blindness is on humanity. We hear all these wonderful stories and we don't seem to get the idea at all. Sacrifice is joy. Though it seems somewhat counterintuitive, we know that people voluntarily give up their pleasures for those of others. Sacrifice is joy. If I say you give it up and then you'll feel happy, what nonsense. How will I feel happy because I gave up? I'll feel happy because I got. But then how do you explain those people who do give it up? We know that people voluntarily give up their pleasures for those of others. We know this happens, right? People all voluntarily give this. How does that happen? Why do they give it up? When one is ready to sacrifice, one is ready to relinquish one's desire. Think of it. I'm willing to give it up. That means what? I'm willing to let the desire go, which is what we are trying to achieve. A generous cause a victim did demand, and forth I leapt upon the sandy plain, as Wordsworth says in his poem Laodamia. You're, I think, familiar with this poem where Protesilaus is a prince. He's one of the Greek princes. And there was a prophecy that the first Greek hero who lands on Trojan soil is going to die in the war. You know the story, na? Famous story, Helen of Troy. Helen was the wife of Menelaus, and then she was kidnapped, or she went to Troy, whichever version you take. And then the whole Greek armada set off to get this wonderful Helen. And they couldn't start because first the winds were not favorable, because the armada had to go, the ships had to sail, so they couldn't go. And then eventually they sacrificed to the gods, and the Delphic oracle predicted that whoever touches the Trojan soil first, you get out of the boat and you land on that person is going to die. This was the prophecy. So Protesilaus, who was one of the princes, he says, a generous cause a victim did demand, and forth I leapt upon the sandy plain. So while these people were discussing who should go, because whoever touches is going to die, that's a given. While they were discussing who should go, a lowly soldier, obviously general cannot go, he just jumps out and touches the soil from the thing first. And as the story goes, as the prophecy was, he dies. So he's explaining to his wife. In it, Protesilaus, the prince, sacrifices his life for his country and attains heaven. The absence of desires gives heaven, that is happiness. Sarthak. To forget what we want so that happiness reveals itself, is that possible? Our mind automatically and relentlessly goes towards whatever we want. What is the meaning of controlling unselfishness? We just did this, no? When you think of something more important, when according to you something is more important, and you go for that, that is the way your selfishness decreases. You must value something more than your own pettiness. That's how people during independence, they valued independence more than their own life. Or any of our soldiers, they value protection of the country more than their own comfort. So we'll go there. There are people who work for causes. Like there was this man, what was his name? There are people who worked for the education of the girl child, or for widow remarriage. Everybody wants reputation. When they started saying educate the girl child or widow remarriage, the whole society, the whole community was against it. But they cared for that more than they cared for their reputation. They were willing to say, okay, I don't care what my reputation is, I'm going to do this. So, what is the meaning of controlling unselfishness? Means at some stage in your life, for some cause, you are willing to say, okay, I'm willing to give this. And that capacity in us, you say you're giving it up and you're willing to take up the sorrow. And somehow that makes you very happy. That's what gives happiness. It's so counterintuitive. But that's how it happens. It doesn't appear so, but that is what happens. And then the joy, of course, it's painful. There's no doubt about it. It's painful. It will hurt. But you're willing for it. And that willingness, suddenly you find at some point this has converted. It's an amazing thing. We should shout from rooftops and tell people you're on the wrong track. You're doing just the opposite thing. But even if we do, no one's going to listen. So we will just continue our thing. Yes, Bharat.
When we say it pains, in that pain, the support of your conscience is greater than the amount of pain that you experience. So, is that what keeps the person going?
No. What happens is you are stuck somewhere in some level of desires, right? Let us say, for instance, what example? Okay, let's assume that you, I think what everybody in this team has done, the organization was working in a certain way. We were raising a certain amount of funds. We were having a few events, public lectures, maybe yagna and all that. Then we conceived the idea of university. Now to go from, just these petty events, small time events, to try to put up a university, every one of us has had to actually reinvent ourselves. Because what brought you here won't take you there. Now, when you do that, it's a painful process because you have to change your whole mental mentality only you have to change. Because the person who did that is not going to be the person who will do that. Not possible. So you are saying, okay, fine, I'm willing to give up whatever. Like, we've raised funds. So many people say, oh, I can't ask for money. Okay, so you go and ask people for money. And then some people will be rude to you, some people will give you money, some people will ask you only if you give money. Many things will happen. But you are willing to undertake that difficulty. You don't want to do it, but you say, no, you have to if you have to put the university up. So you're willing to undertake that pain. When you're willing to undertake that pain, what happens? That particular desire drops off. And therefore you're a happier person. I'm saying, okay, I'm willing to take a hit on my reputation, and I'm willing to take a hit on my money, or I'm willing to take a hit on my comfort levels. That particular desire, whichever you're willing to take a hit on, falls off. That now the desire is gone, then you're a happier person. Okay?
No, thank you.
Okay. Sacrifice is joy. So when Protesilaus is willing to give up, what he gets is heaven. Indians experience this in hosting guests. It is not uncommon for a couple to give up their bedroom for their guest and sleep in the living room. I don't know if this is still true, but many times when a guest comes, people give up their own bedroom so that where they are comfortable for the guest. They're happy to have the guest. They feel happy to do that. They put up with the inconvenience with pleasure. It is called titiksha, tolerance. the quality of putting up with displeasure with pleasure. When you are struggling to do something, you're struggling to do something for somebody, and you are being inconvenienced by that. You're losing that desire actually, because now you're not hanging on to it. The quality of putting up with displeasure with pleasure. This is inherent in Indian culture. Here, a brother gives up his throne for his brother and takes up ochre robes. His brother Bharat, instead of rejoicing in the gaining of the throne, also takes up ochre robes and rules in the name of his brother Ram. Can you imagine both sides? If the brothers fought for the throne, they would both have been agitated. As it happens, both relinquish their desires, are happy, and leave a high standard of morality for their successor. Isn't it? That's why we are celebrating that every year, year after year in this country. Two brothers who say, you take it. Now what is it? I take it. And they're fighting. We celebrated it. Because how many, God alone knows how many years we've been celebrating this in this country. Sarth. Classification helps in getting clarity and also measure our progress. Yes, correct. So then that's it for today. I hope you know